This morning's hobby enhancement is ginger beer because it's too early for real beer. And today I'm building a Metcalf pre-cut terrain kit. These are originally made for model trains actually, and I picked this one up at a local railway shop. Got a whole bunch of them. And just to show you what I'm working on, here's one that I built earlier. This one's been based, and I added some car parts, some roll-on, stick-on terrain that I picked up from the same model railway shop, and added some stone walls just to give it that sort of country village feel. Originally when I did these, I did them for Flames of War, and I just left them on the basis that they come with, but since we're playing more Team Yankee these days, I've given more of a bitumen feel by painting the dashwood boards and adding contemporary car park paraphernalia. I got into these years before I cottoned on to Sarissa Precision or the Battlefield in a Box stuff. I do like the laser cut MDF buildings, but once I've got a bunch of these things, well, I want to maintain some thematic consistency with all of my terrain collections, so that look consistent on the board, ties it all together. So I decided to stick with the same brand of buildings. So that means I have to work around not being able to do things like take the roofs off to put model troops in there, although if I had more time and patience I could customize them to be more gameplay friendly. But as it is, I just like the look of them, so I keep them as is. And I just realized in here there's little extras boxes you can get. You can get little cafe bench seats and tables and so on. So I've popped them in the courtyard here of this village cafe. And there's a nice little touch when you're pushing around the troopers or shooting each other. Now these are HO scale or 00 scale. So they're 1 to 87, not 1 to 100. It's not a big issue, but I've noticed that compared to other terrain, such as the Sarissa Precision that friends of mine use, it does create the effect of the battlefield looking a bit more zoomed in, about 13% more zoomed in than the 1 to 100 scale terrain. So it scratches a slightly different itch in terms of how the sort of telescopic approach to rules works with the Flames of War series of games. Now, I do like the look of these kits. They scratch a very different itch to plastic terrain kits or MDF. They look great in photographs. I've used them extensively in my battle reports, the photographic ones on the Cognition Fatigue WordPress blog, as well as the more recent videos I've been doing on Cognition Fatigue on YouTube. So anyway, let's see what you get in the box. So it's a pretty thin box. It's all flat packed, I suppose. Pull all of that out. That's what it should look like on the front. There's a shot of what it would look like from the back. The general dimensions. That can go. It will sit quite comfortably on this piece of old MDF I had lying around. I've painted it black as a generic base for my industrial sectors, so that'll do the job for this. I've actually had this kit sitting around on a shelf for about 4 years. I bought it just before our son was born. And would you believe it? For the first few years after he was born, I just haven't had the damn time to dedicate a whole afternoon to building it. These take a little bit longer than the average, evening's hobby session. So I've got an afternoon free today, nothing better to do, so this is a bit of a special occasion. So this is the kit. Get that out of the way. You can see it's all very nicely pre-painted. It's all push art mainly. You'll need one of these, steel ruler maybe. I tend to do it freehand, just to cut these little joiner sections where it tells you to cut. It's one-sided card, so if there's double-sided walls and things, generally you've got to fold them over. And lots of insert pieces that give it structure and that sort of three-dimensional feel. So look at this one for comparison. You can see, where's a good spot to show it? Yeah, on the door. You can see that the door's actually inset, and behind the wall there's a cardboard frame, and then the door's glued onto that cardboard frame, so you get depth of several millimeters from the actual brickwork at the front. So that's what all these frame pieces will be for, the inset windows. We've got here plain old structural pieces to give it structural integrity behind the facade. Ridge tiles to help with the roofing, to seal it in. Again, because it's basically folded card, it leaves a gap along the top, so you get strips of this paper glued over the top of the ridge line, and you get a nice textured ridge cap. The windows are actually plastic, but most paper glue will glue them on well enough. And yeah, so at the end of the day you actually get your nice white wooden cross windows, and you can see into them, which is largely wasted given there's no interiors, but it still works pretty well in the finished models. And then we have the instructions. So I'm expecting this will take me most of the afternoon. I might turn the camera off from time to time and just show you bits as they come together, so you can see the process and the inner workings of these things. Now this will be sheet one here. Very friendly in how it's written, a bit more involved than some. It talks about how to set up your work surface and the equipment you need and all that sort of generic stuff. Alright, well, let's get into it. Apparently we have to start with the windows. The Metcalf website talks about the history of these kits. Apparently when they first did them, they produced them as just printed onto a reasonably firm gauge of card, but without pre-punching the terrain. So it's reminiscent of things like the Warhammer Townscape that originally came as a card pack that you had to cut out manually. So this is still in the vein of papercraft terrain, but being quite heavy gauge card, it gives you a lot more crunch than what you get from printing onto 200 GSM paper that you'd feed through your average home printer. So you certainly don't need to glue it onto anything for reinforcement. It comes quite intact. I might use this as my window board as to store all this gear for the time being. Probably note that when it comes to these papercraft kits, cutting out the windows is the least satisfying part of the whole thing, but it's got to be done. Oh look, I've just found the toilets. So this kit at the end of the day is a village shop and cafe. I find with model railway terrain, lots of the buildings are actually model railway centric. Perhaps isn't a great surprise. So finding kits that show generic town bits that you can use for games of Flames of War, that are not specifically around a railway, can be a little bit challenging with model railway shops, but the Metcalf series has quite a few things which are not specifically railway. But if they've got a village school somewhere, that might be worth getting, just to have another building with a bit of variety to the collection. And I recommend at some point, preferably not while you're watching this video, get onto the Metcalf website and check out some of the model railway layouts that they have there. They look fantastic, and every time I look at them I think, well, wouldn't that really suit a Abrams and a bunch of infantry duking it out with some T-72s. This just reminded me of playing Warhammer 40,000, what God was it? First edition maybe? They had their compendium and the compilation. And in the compilation they changed up the vehicle rules. So they had these epoxy diagrams of vehicles. And what you'd do is photocopy this target matrix, which came in the book, and you'd photocopy it onto a slide plastic like this, and you would overlay the target grid over the picture of the vehicle, roll some dice to see where your shot lands, and then you could adjust the shot on both axes by the ballistic skill of the shooter. And that would tell you which part of the vehicle you hit. You roll on the armor and damage table for that. I remember back in 1992 thinking that was a fantastic way to work out what you did when you shot at a vehicle. I don't think it would work too well in Team Yankee, where the average table has probably about 30 or 40 vehicles. Okay, so there's window sections. Put them aside for when we get to them later. Shit. Actually, you know what? It's telling me to glue all the windows to the card first. Now, we'll get the boring crap out of the way first. What I might do is, through the magic of television, cut back in once I've done some of the boring stuff and show you how the building is coming together as a structure. Rightio. Here are the window sections glued to their card backings. These will go onto the inner walls of the building, and the doors work the same way, so it gives a bit of depth. And one of these doors here has got a window in it, so the plastic goes in the back of the door card goes in the back of the door frame goes onto the inner wall of the actual building, and we'll fit those as we go along. And the next bit is building A. These are the inner floors, these are the reinforcers that will give it shape. So what we've got to do now is separate building A from the holding sheet. Where is it? This one here. Generally don't really need a steel rule for this sort of thing. It's sunken in enough, you're not likely to slip. Okay. Oop, and this bit. Okay. And the next thing we've got to do is fold these tabs around. These will need to be glued in place and fairly stable before we do the next bits. You can see how this is going to fold around like so. Bit of overlap there, so it will all hold together. So the next bit is to glue these tabs back. I'll use some bulldog clips to hold them in place. I'm using just some bog standard glue from Officeworks. Used to use the Yoo-hoo version of this, but can't find it anywhere anymore. But this seemed to do the job on those Warhammer Townscape buildings, so I'm using it again for this. Okay. Dog clips are fantastic for these sorts of paper craft kits. Technically speaking, you don't need them, but I'm impatient and I don't like to sit around just holding two bits of card together any longer than I absolutely have to. So these keep me moving. Okie dokie. Now, it looks like I've got to fit some of the windows after I've put in the inner floor. Presumably to make sure I leave enough space for the lower door and window. So we're going to need rear lower window. That's this one lower window frame, rear lower window, and we need the cafe door, this frame. Where is it? Building a cafe door frame. There we go. They've put some real thought into these kits. I can only imagine the iterations of the design process. Okay. Adjust these down a little bit. Okay, so that goes in there. Piece goes around here. Make sure you press these down all the way into their corners, onto their correct level. And now, having talked up the virtue of bulldog clips, the bloody things are giving me trouble. Let's get a lighter one. Okay, so it's coming together, but I'm going to have to hold this one, I think, while I install the remaining pieces. Okie dokie. Just shuffle that bulldog clip across to hold the bits together. And make sure that floor is pushed all the way down. Now we have to fix this rear window in there, which looks like it's designed to be pushed all the way to the bottom of the inner floor, so that'll give it the right height. There's usually a bit of surplus glue that comes squeezing out, so we'll sort that out. Possibly. There we go, it's coming out now. Okay. Now we've got to put in the inner upper floor, which it would seem just sits directly on top of the door formers that I've just glued in. nice tight fit. Put a bit more glue back here to hold these pieces together. So we have here a near complete section A. So what I'll do is pause for a bit, finish up some more of this, then show you some other pieces coming together. So I've now built buildings A and B and installed all the window bits. Both built more or less the same way, just a box with inserts. What I've got to do now is attach building A to building B. Oops, it looks like a piece moved, which is unfortunate. That's going to be out of whack. I can't get in there anymore, or can I? Oh. Okay. Haven't had that happen before. A window slipped around after it had been glued. So again, the bulldog clip's proving very useful. So I'll just go ahead and smear glue all over this, and bulldog clip the two building halves together. Pays to use a flat surface. I reckon I probably need to leave a bit more room on the side of that. Okay. Okay, so that's about as much compression as I can give that. That will hopefully weld those two sections together. You can see these are the window sections here, where the plastic's been glued onto card and the card's been glued onto the wall. And sometimes these same pieces form a reinforcement of a roof section. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry for a bit. See what's next. Roofs. Alright, so we're going to do building B first. The only problem with card paper craft buildings is that you want to be pretty careful not to stuff it up, because once you've mangled it, it's not like plastic or wood where you can just paint over the top. Once you've mangled it, as I nearly did there, you've lost your print and sometimes the structural integrity of the card, and it's a bit of a bugger to conceal later on. So I'm going to let that building dry a bit more first. I'll just cut out the other roof section ready to roll. as well. And we've got some dormer roofs. Okie dokie. Okay, well I'm going to I'll go ahead and glue these on now. Probably not as dried as I would like it, but I'll have to do. It's definitely not as dried as I would like it. But it's going to have to do the job, I think. Okay, so we glue roof B on first, that goes over here. So I reckon what I'll do is just glue the apexes rather than the underhang. All right. This little bastard wants to keep popping up. Okay, I think we're in for a very exciting period of time of me basically holding cardboard dormers closed over rooftops. So I'm going to pause this and come back once the roofs are fixed and we're on to the next bit. So buildings A and B are now completed. They're got their roofs fixed. These little dormer pieces here turned out to be a giant pain in the ass, but they seem to be largely stuck now. We've put some stairs together, quite a fair bit of sub-assembly and gluing on bulldog clipping, and now we've got patio in place. So I'm going to put this sub-assembly aside. And you notice I've had to put some paper down so that when I glue these sections together they don't glue to my cutting mat. So that's the first half of the instructions done. correction. There we go. Now we've got to do our little shop front now. Okay, so here's our shop front. Scrape off some of this rough stuff here where it didn't punch through quite right. Preform. Okay, and we glue in the shop front window. No, correction, we do the tabs first. Oh, so many tabs. Which of course means more bulldog clips. Bulldog clips are my number one tip for assembling these buildings. That and following the instructions. If you're winging on these, you can stuff them up too easily. Okay, goes there. That one goes there. I'll just sneak another one in. Go. Alright, now this window goes in here, I think, just on top of the, probably a bit up actually from the tab. Okay, so let's leave that for a minute to dry. Now, I have one of the wonderful little touches that you get in these kits. A window display of groceries. Now, actually it turns out there's a small rectangular form that goes in there. And I would suggest it's this one. That'll fit. Yeah, okay. Okay. Now that will actually square up that window. So if we slide that down, we can press the card in a floor into place. And I've got to, there we go, I've got to put some shop front windows there to reinforce the structure of this thing. Just put a bit more tension on those tabs, make sure they don't go anywhere. I'll just hold that in with a bulldog clip actually. Make sure it sticks. In fact, you know, I don't even need to do that. I think that just needs to rest there so that the glue will cure. Get rid of some of the surplus. Okay, that one is causing me a bit of concern. And that's my neighbour. I'm running out of time, so that we have to do for the bulldog clips. And we'll glue this in. Okay, and that fits in there with a small margin to spare. First time I've needed the bloody tweezers on this project. So hopefully that doesn't move. This whole thing will set into place. While we're at it, I'm going to cut with some of these signs to have on the outside of the shop. And we have a sign on here that says dairy made ice cream, and a newspaper that says local man eats live sheep. I think we'll be including that one. Okay, and every good village should have plenty of promotional material out the front. Okay, some of these decorative features will be on sections of wall that haven't been built yet. Let's put a couple onto here, I think. Some of this is actually coming loose still. Alright, well, it's going to take a while to glue before I can stick on the next section. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and check in once we've got some more of these pieces put together. Right, well, it's coming along nicely. We've now finished the front of the building. We've got the front shop bit there, the pillar and the stairs that run up to a door into the village store there, and also to the side door for the cafe, clearly marked, signed. And by and large, it's all sticking together fine. That bay window was a giant pain in the arse to assemble, but in the end it seems to have come good. Hopefully nothing slips while it's drying. So now we have to make a lean-to building, building C, that will hang on to the back corner of this building. So let's have a look. Where does this fix? Okay, so here's the piece, and I have folded and glued so many tabs today. It's becoming a bit of a weird cliche even. We have this piece, a roof support, and the actual roof itself here. Looks deceptively simple. I'm sure it'll throw a curveball at me somewhere along the way. Okay. These would be the floor pieces to reinforce the lean-to part of the building. And as is the way with these, when you fold these tabs over, that'll rest on there, and same methodology for pretty much all the components. It seems to do the job quite well. Now the instructions are telling me to glue this to the bottom floor before we put the windows in. It means bulldog clipping all of this lot. These kits give me a great appreciation of graphic design, and I can only imagine the iteration and testing that went on to get such a user-friendly end product. Okay, pretty sure that fits that way. Yep. Now we have a door that goes in the back here. Which one is it? This one. Okay. Okay, so three windows for building C, this being building C. Kind of got to hold this together, so this will be a bit tricky. Okay. I'm starting to wonder whether this is actually popping up a little bit too far. I have to fit a other roof piece on here, so there's got to be enough space between that roof and the window insert for that to fit. Let's see, this window piece also serves to thicken this bit of wall, which is where this wall and wall join to one of these building bits. There's an extra bit of glue on there. Extra thickness to hold the glue. They think these things through, these guys. Okay. need to change up some of these bulldog clips to hold together different parts of this unit. Alright, I'm going to give that a minute to dry, then we'll fix that to, I believe, this corner of the building. And because I don't want to film glue drying, I'll hit pause and get back to it in a bit later. Every once in a while when you're building something in Hobbyland, you find yourself doing something a little bit peculiar. Whether it's dry brushing a demon's buttocks, or in this case, lovingly crafting a toilet, as all the labelling was very clear that is. Anyway, I've now built all the core structural elements for this building. We've got a patio out the front, lovely little staircase and porch out the back. Oops, still drying. Not quite big enough to stick an RPG team in, but I'm sure I'll find a way. So now we're just onto the chimneys, and that'll be the main build complete. So I've now finished the building proper. This is everything the kit puts together, including some pesky little chimney pots that you make by rolling bits of paper around nails. They actually look alright though once they're finished. So the chimneys are inserted there, and basically the model's complete. But because it's a gaming piece, I'm going to base it. And I can do it this way. Seems to fit reasonably well. Then put car parks in the back in one way or another. Or I could put it the other way. Let's see how this fits. I generally work on the basis of a corner shop, so there'll be roads on those sides. That leaves room. Car parks along here, that won't fit. One along here, that would fit, but it's a bit cramped. I think it's going to go this way. Set it back a little bit, I reckon. I've got to think about what to do with the car parks. Have them going up against that way, up against the shop. And this way. Maybe even with a garden feature or something. That is a lot of room between the car parks and the building. I could do car parks that way as well. Alright, I'm going to muck around the car parks later. What I've got to do first is glue this building down. Okay, so hopefully this stuff holds. If it doesn't, I'll just glue it down with something else another day. That looks reasonably square. So while that dries, I'm going to see how much of this stuff I've got and what I can do with it. Have to go that way. Unless I do straight car parks. Yeah, I reckon this might be the way to do it. So these car park bits I'm using here, I picked up at a model railway shop, along with some full-blown road sections of the same type, and they seem to do the job. Having things like car parts seems to make rather a significant difference to the end presentation and how convincing it is. This way the Team Yankee train's actually a little better than when I was using these for Flames of War. Because the additional evidence of urbanisation just adds that extra level of it just makes it look that a little bit more convincing. Okay. This next bit is going to be fiddly as all hell, and I'll try not to fuck it up, which is actually very easy to do. One of the issues with this material is that it's sticky as all hell, it's kind of gummy, and this material that the glue is attached to is elastic, but once you stretch it a bit it doesn't pop back, it just deforms rather easily. Okay. Christ, this is going to be a tricky one. Okay, well, got there in the end. Now, I'm not going to be able to 100% finish this because this tree is going to look a bit odd by itself. It probably needs to be sitting in a garden bed, which means doing some texturing and painting it up. But you know what, I can't help myself, I'm going to glue it. This will make more sense once I've put a bit of dirt around it. But because it's nearly pumpkin o'clock and I want to finish this miniature tonight, I'm going to glue it on anyway. I'm using plastic glue because the tree is plastic, and so is the paint that I've used as a backing for this board. So I'm hoping I don't have to resort to super glue. Okay. I've got some HO, I think they're HO, there's either a 1 to 100 scale cars somewhere. Let me just line up on my bucket of cars and put a couple on there. And I got these in a bundle of 50 for bugger all money off of some eBay sales thing, probably from China. And I thought they were too damn small for Flames of War when I first got them, but then I realised when you put them next to a Humvee, they actually look quite large. So they're close enough to correct scale. And that, several hours worth of build actually. These kits are not quick to build. But that looks the part. And when I put it on the games table, in a village setting next to buildings like this, depending on the configuration of the roads, it might even look like, what could it look like? Could look like that, I suppose. Something of that nature anyway. Could even look like this, depending on where the road goes. Yeah, that makes a bit more sense. Anyway, so that's the finished building. The model kit 4 years ago cost me $27.50, and I think by the time you've built it, you get your money's worth. Okay, well, that's it. If you stuck it out all the way through, thanks for watching. Feel free to hit like, subscribe, and I think it's well and truly time I called it a night.